Back in Jesus' day, it had been understood that good works and righteousness are one and the same thing. If we read our scriptures and we read other translations, that term righteousness oftentimes is also translated as good works. For example, Matthew chapter 6, verse 1, ESV says, "Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them." The ERV translation goes, "Be careful when you do something good. Don't do it in front of others so they will see you." Or the NLT translation says, "Watch out, don't do your good deeds publicly to be admired by others." So good works and righteousness are oftentimes translated as the same thing. Now, the reason why this is a good example is because in the mind of the Jews, back then, even until today, it is understood that a righteous person is a giver. A righteous person gives. For example, William Barclay said, "To give alms and to be righteous are one and the same thing." So there's a story I heard from one pastor who took a trip to Israel one day. So he was there in Jerusalem, and he saw a beggar on the street. So this pastor from America was gonna politely pass by this beggar on the street, politely refuse to give him money, when he was stopped by a man who was an Orthodox Jew. Now, this Jewish man, who perhaps didn't speak much English at all, was very angry with the pastor. Without looking at the beggar, this Jewish man took out a bunch of bills, stuffed it in the hat or the cap or whatever the beggar had on him, and the whole time he had his eyes, fiery eyes, looking at the pastor. So you imagine, not taking his eyes off of the bill or looking at the beggar, he was looking at the pastor the whole time, takes out a bunch of bills, stuffs it into the hat, all the while with fire in his eyes. The message was very clear. This is what a righteous person does. Of course, he didn't really show care or compassion to the beggar, but this is the ethic. This is what a righteous person does. A righteous person gives. So, Jesus says, yes, a righteous person gives, but how they give is important. Look at Matthew chapter 6, verse 2. "So, when you give to the needy, sound no trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may be praised by others. Truly, I say to you, they have received their reward." A few things to unpack here. Giving is important to God because God Himself is a giving God. Now, notice the first phrase of Matthew 6, verse 2. "So, when you give to the needy." Jesus did not say, "if you give." He said, "when you give." So Jesus assumes that His people are givers. He didn't tell us to give. He assumes that we are givers. So He pinpoints to the heart behind the action. He tells us how to give. So just one thing that we can take from this, and that is when we give sincerely. We give sincerely. So for example, the meaning of the word sincere is derived from the Latin roots of the word sine and cera. Sine meaning without, cera means wax. According to oral history, dishonest sculptors in Greece and in Rome would cover flaws in their work by using wax. If you look at this picture, for example, that if the sculpture was chipped, cracked, or damaged, dishonest sculptors would melt wax into the marble dust, using it to conceal the flaw or the imperfection. So, when an honest sculptor presented their work to the patron, they would make the statement that this sculpture was sine cera, or this sculpture was without wax. It was sincere. Jesus is emphasizing for us that the motive behind the obedience is not the law itself, but love for God. Jesus continues on with the same theme, explaining that true righteousness is not merely about doing right things, but it's more about doing the right things with the right heart. So there was this study that was done in 2016 in Mumbai, India. They had established 16 no selfie zones across the city after a series of deadly accidents. So one picture says, no selfie while you're on the water. I mean, if I look at it, I kind of laugh because it's kind of common sense. Another is no selfie while you're waiting for the train. So they had 16 of these all across the city because they had a series of deadly accidents. Now, even the Washington Post reports over 250 people have died in recent years attempting to take selfies. What does this mean? It appears that our desire to be seen by others could be killing us. It's true, though. We want our lives to matter. But in our celebrity-saturated culture, we've come to believe that our lives only matter when they are noticed. So we have this deep longing to be seen by others. And it's even fueled more by social media. We want someone to take notice, anyone to take notice, to care about us, to see us, to like us. We go online, we want to find a witness to our life, but really what we're searching on in Facebook, Instagram, and or TikTok is someone to tell us, you matter, your life counts. Look at Matthew chapter 6, verse 2 again. Jesus said, so when you give to the needy, sound no trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may be praised by others. Truly I say to you, they have received their reward. Jesus invites us to step out of slavery. Because when we give, and we do it so that other people may see us, we do it with a motive that we might be praised by others, or we are looking for us to be praised ourselves, then we have become slaves to ourselves. And Jesus loves us so much that he wants us to step out of that. The idea behind this verse is this. If you do something in order to impress somebody, then our reward is that we get the wow from that somebody. We will get the praise from that person. We will get the recognition, and that's it. And then we'll be a little bit more addicted to it, and it will be even harder to avoid the same thing next time around. And it goes on a downward spiral, and we become slaves to it. So Jesus says, when we give, don't do it like the hypocrites, to just put on a mask or pretend that we're doing it because we love God, but really, there are hidden motives inside. Jesus is inviting us, do it for the reward of the Father. In other words, the reward of the hypocrites is the praise of people. The reward of the Father is the praise of the Father. How do we give sincerely? We have to value intimacy, not publicity. What does that mean? The more we develop intimacy with God, the less we will strive for the public praise of people. The more intimate we are with God, the more we will discover a secret that eludes so many people. Our lives matter. Not because somebody liked it, not because somebody noticed it, not because there was a like or a heart on that post. Our lives matter because God is always with us, noticing every moment of our lives. Even King David wrote in Psalm 139, he knows when I sit and when I rise. He knows my thoughts from afar. He discerns my going out and my lying down, as well as every word that is on my tongue before I say it.